"Sign the divorce papers," my mother-in-law said, sliding the envelope across my coffee table. My husband stood beside her, eyes fixed on the floor. I still had hospital tape clinging to my wrist. "You skipped the wedding," she sneered. "You don't belong in this family anymore." I didn't argue. I didn't even blink. I picked up the pen and signed slowly, deliberately. Her smile widened, certain she'd finally broken me. But as the ink dried, something shifted. They thought it was the end of a marriage. It wasn't. It was the beginning of something none of them were prepared to face. When people picture a perfect marriage, they imagine balanced two people carrying equal weight. Ours never looked that way from the outside. Ethan cooked, cleaned, ran the community kitchen downtown. I worked 70-hour weeks as a financial strategist, the kind of job that demanded silence, order, results. He was the warmth in our home. I was the structure. And for 3 years, it worked. Until his mother decided it shouldn't. Amelia Grant believed a woman belonged in the kitchen, not the boardroom. She never said it kindly. She said it like gospel. A man who lets his wife pay the bills, she told anyone who would listen, isn't a husband, he's a pet. I'd hear her words secondhand through family dinners, through the awkward glances of her friends who suddenly pitied Ethan. He always tried to protect me. "She just doesn't understand modern marriages," he'd whisper, rubbing the back of my hand. But I did understand. I understood that some women never forgive another woman for doing what they never dared to. Haley. My sister was the first to notice how the tension followed me home. "You flinch every time your phone buzzes," she said one night over takeout. I shrugged, pretending it was work stress. The truth was, Amelia called almost daily, little reminders about what a real wife would do. Bake hosts smile more, speak less. I'd mastered every crisis at the office, but nothing prepared me for the politics of pleasing someone determined to hate me. When Ryan's wedding invitation arrived, Ethan was excited. "It'll be good to see everyone again," he said. "A chance to reset." I smiled because that's what wives do when they're already bracing for impact. Amelia called the next day. Rustic lodge in the mountains. She bragged all family, no excuses. I promised we'd be there. I even bought a dress, soft silk, pale blue, something she couldn't call too formal. For a moment, I believed peace might be possible. Then came the pain. It hit before dawn, 3 days before the wedding, sharp twisting like something tearing open inside me. Ethan found me on the bathroom floor, shaking. The ER lights were blinding the machines, relentless. The doctor's words blurred together, bleeding ulcer. Stress induced. 5 days minimum. I nodded because nodding was all I could do. Ethan squeezed my hand. "I'll let everyone know," he said. "They'll understand." I believed him. I shouldn't have. On the second day, I was sitting up IV, still in my arm, typing on my laptop, something familiar to keep me steady when the door slammed open. Amelia walked in, perfume first, judgment second. "You look fine," she said. "You're upright. Typing." I told her the doctor had forbidden travel. She waved a manicured hand. "If you can work, you can attend. Stop embarrassing this family." I hit the call button, asked the nurse to remove her. Amelia's heels clicked as she left, her voice echoing down the hall. "If you don't show up tomorrow, don't bother coming back." I lay back, staring at the ceiling tiles, heart pounding through the morphine haze. I didn't cry. I didn't call Ethan. I just stared at the IV line feeding into my arm and wondered how much more I'd have to lose before someone finally saw what she was doing to me. Coming home from the hospital should have felt like safety, but the air inside our condo was colder than the hallway outside. Ethan met me at the door with flowers and a soft smile that didn't reach his eyes. Behind him, Amelia sat at the kitchen table, posture perfect, like she owned the space. Her coat hung neatly on the chair beside her, her purse resting on the floor like a planted flag. "Mom wanted to stop by," Ethan said quietly, as if explaining away bad weather. "I can see that," I replied. My voice came out steady, though my legs still trembled beneath me. He helped me take off my coat, tucked a blanket around my shoulders, and brought me a bowl of soup. Ginger and lemon, my favorite. He was trying. But the scent made my stomach turn when Amelia cleared her throat. "We need to talk," she said, pushing a manila envelope across the table. I knew that color, that thickness, the weight of it before I even touched it. "What is this?" "The next step," she answered. Ethan frowned. "Mom, what's in there?" Clarity, she said simply. If Bella wants out of this family so badly, let's make it official. It wasn't until the paper edge brushed my hand that I saw my name typed across the top, petition for dissolution of marriage. My pulse thudded so hard I could hear it in my ears. You brought divorce papers to my house. I brought them to save my son, Amelia replied coolly. You made a promise at the hospital. You said if you didn't show up to the wedding, you'd leave. I'm just helping you keep your word. Ethan froze, eyes darting between us. You went to the hospital? She was fine, Amelia said quickly, typing upright, exaggerating. I set the papers down gently. I was on intravenous fluids, I said. You saw the machines. You heard the doctor? She tilted her head. If you were strong enough to argue with me, you were strong enough to walk down an aisle. The silence in the room stretched like wire about to snap. Mom! Ethan said, his voice shaking. This is insane. You can't just... She's turned you into her servant, Amelia snapped. You cook, you clean, you cater to her schedule. What does she give you besides an empty bed and a tax deduction? Something in me shifted. A low, quiet burn replacing the helpless ache I'd carried for years. I looked at Ethan. Do you believe that? He shook his head instantly. Of course not. Amelia laughed, sharp and brittle. He doesn't have to believe it. Everyone else does. I stood my body still weak, but my voice steady. You came here to humiliate me. Consider it done. Now leave. She smirked, gathering her coat. You'll regret this silence, Bella. The door shut behind her like a final nail. Ethan ran a hand through his hair, whispering, I'm so sorry. I didn't know she'd go that far. I sat back down, staring at the envelope. My reflection rippled faintly in the glossy surface. I wasn't angry at him, not yet. But I knew this moment, the quiet after someone crosses a line, is where everything starts to change. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, the smug satisfaction when she slid that envelope across my table. My stomach still ached from the ulcer, but this was a different kind of pain, the kind that burned clean through anger and left only resolve. Ethan sat beside me on the couch, head in his hands. I don't know how to fix this, he said quietly. You don't, I answered. I do. He looked up startled. For the first time in our marriage, he saw the part of me that never begged, the woman who calculated outcomes for a living. The next morning, I brewed coffee, opened my laptop, and started going through our household spreadsheets. Every bill, every wire transfer, every line item I'd paid since we married. Rent insurance, his mother's utilities, even the catering for Ryan's rehearsal dinner charged to my card. It wasn't about money anymore. It was about truth. Numbers don't lie. People do. I printed everything, stacked it neatly in a folder, no yelling, no threats, just proof. By noon, Haley dropped by with soup. You look dangerous, she said, half joking. I'm done playing nice, I replied. She glanced at the pile of paperwork. What's the plan? I'm going to give Amelia what she wanted, I said. Clarity. When Ethan came home, I told him calmly, your mother's right about one thing, we do need to set things straight. But not her way. He looked exhausted, scared even. What are you going to do? I smiled faintly. Tell the truth. All of it. That night, I slept better than I had in weeks. The fear had left. The silence I once used to survive was about to become my weapon. The next evening, Amelia called, demanding to discuss the papers. I told her to come over. My voice was flat, steady. She thought she was walking into a surrender. She had no idea it was an ambush built on facts and years of quiet endurance. When I hung up, Ethan asked, Are you sure you're ready for this? I folded the final page into the folder and met his eyes. I've been ready since the day she decided I wasn't enough. Tomorrow, she'd learn what silence sounds like when it finally speaks. Amelia arrived the next afternoon exactly on time, of course. Her heels clicked against the hardwood like a countdown. She didn't knock. She never did. Just opened the door and stepped in with that familiar perfume cloud that always felt more like invasion than presence. Ethan stood beside me, hands clasped tight, but she looked right through him. I brought a notary, she said, dropping her coat over the chair. Let's get this over with. No need, I replied. You won't be needing those papers. Her brow furrowed the smallest crack in her perfect control. Excuse me. Sit down, I said calmly. We're going to talk about family the way you like to." She hesitated, maybe sensing the difference in my tone. No tremor, no apology. Then she sat. Her bag designer and structured rested beside her like a shield. I slid a folder across the table the same way she'd done with the divorce papers 2 days earlier. "What's this?" she asked. "Documentation," I said. "You should appreciate that it's your favorite kind of truth." Ethan looked at me confused, but I didn't break eye contact with her. "You accused me of using your son," I continued, "of treating him like a servant. You've called me a parasite, a paycheck, a problem. So let's review the math." I opened the folder page by page. Rent every month for 3 years paid from my account. Groceries, utilities, his health insurance. Even your heating bill last winter. I paused. "Remember the catering at Ryan's rehearsal dinner? You praised the food. You should. I paid for it." Her face stiffened, the color draining from her cheeks. "That's ridiculous. Ethan sends me money every month." "Yes, I said money that came from our shared account. A line in the budget labeled Mom." Amelia turned to Ethan, desperate. "You didn't tell me that, did you?" He swallowed hard. "I didn't want to embarrass you." She blinked rapidly, eyes darting between us. "You expect me to believe this? That you've been paying for everything?" "You don't have to believe it," I said softly. "You can read it." I slid the receipts toward her. The neat columns, the printed statements, my world reduced to proof. She flipped through the pages with trembling fingers. The silence grew thick, heavy. Her breathing hitched. "You made me look like a fool," she whispered. "No," I said. "You did that yourself." Her head snapped up. "You think this makes you better than me? You think money buys respect? No," I said, again slower. But lies cost it. Ethan finally spoke, his voice barely steady. "Mom, stop. Please. This isn't about sides anymore." She glared at him. "She's poisoned you against me." I leaned forward. "You did that all on your own, Amelia. Every insult, every dig, every threat. You wanted to control him, to make him choose between peace and pride. And when that didn't work, you tried to shame me into disappearing." Her lips trembled, but her tone was sharp as ever. "You're cold. You think keeping everything neat and balanced makes you right. You don't love him. You own him." For the first time, Ethan raised his voice. "Enough." His palm hit the table. "You don't get to talk about love. You use it like a leash." The sound startled even her. She froze, eyes wide. He continued, voice shaking but clear. "She's never tried to control me. You have. You treat me like I'm still 12 years old." She turned to him, pleading now. "I'm your mother, and I'm your son," he said. "But I'm also her husband. And I'm done watching you tear her apart just because she doesn't fit your script." Her eyes filled, but not with remorse, with fury. "She's taken you from me." I stood then, gathering the folder, sliding it back toward me. "No, Amelia, I didn't take anything. I gave. For years. And I never asked for gratitude, just decency." She stared at me, breathing hard. "You think you've won?" "There's nothing to win," I said. "I'm done playing your game." Ethan stepped closer to me, a quiet motion that spoke louder than any words. "Mom," he said gently, "it's time for you to go." Her expression broke not into tears, but disbelief. "You can't mean that." "I do," he said. "We both do." The words hung in the air, final and irreversible. She stood slowly, gathering her bag, eyes sweeping the room, the framed photos, the soft lights, the life she never controlled. At the door, she paused. "You'll regret this." I met her gaze. "Maybe, but it'll be my regret, not yours." When the door closed behind her, the silence was vast, but not empty. Ethan exhaled like he'd been holding his breath for years. "I should have stopped her sooner," he said. "You just did," I replied. He reached for my hand, the same hand that had signed the papers meant to destroy me. "What happens now?" I looked at the folder still on the table. "Now we start over." But this time without pretending. He nodded, eyes glistening. For the first time in months, I believed him. That night, as rain tapped softly against the windows, I poured the paperwork into the shredder. Every receipt, every printed statement. Proof wasn't needed anymore. The truth had already done its work. In the quiet hum of the machine, I heard something else, the sound of a chapter closing. Not with a bang, but with precision. Outside, the city lights blurred through the rain. Inside, the weight that had lived on my chest for years finally lifted. Amelia had walked out thinking she'd lost a fight. She never understood it was never a fight. It was freedom. We moved 3 weeks later into a brownstone 2 neighborhoods over smaller, quieter ours. Ethan found part-time work managing a community garden, the same place he used to volunteer. I reduced my client list, started leaving the office before sunset. We began cooking together, laughing again, building something that finally felt like choice, not performance. Haley came over the first night with wine and Thai takeout, so she said, grinning, that finally exploded. I smiled. Not exploded, I said. More like surgical precision. Word spread quickly. Ryan stopped calling his mother after she tried lecturing his wife about real marriages. Her friends stopped visiting once they realized the gossip had turned against her. Amelia stayed in her condo sending polite texts on holidays. Ethan replied with short, careful words. I didn't reply at all. There was no victory lap, no applause. Just quiet mornings, sunlight through clean glass coffee shared without tension. The kind of peace you only get after you've been dragged through fire and come out with nothing left to burn. Sometimes silence isn't surrender. It's the sound of boundaries being built and finally holding. I used to think strength meant staying calm while people crossed my lines. Now I know it means drawing them and not moving when someone tests them. Amelia thought silence made me weak. She was wrong. Silence was just the space I needed to prepare the truth. And once truth spoke, it didn't need to shout. If you've ever had to fight for peace inside your own family, you're not alone. Tell me your story in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe, because sometimes the quietest revenge is simply walking away and letting them hear the echo of their own words.